It was supposed to be another light-hearted evening on late-night television, the kind of routine press appearance that Jake Gyllenhaal could do half asleep, promoting his latest psychological thriller with a few laughs, anecdotes, and a charming smile for the cameras. But what unfolded on that Tuesday night was anything but routine, sending shockwaves through Hollywood and prompting network executives to scramble for damage control as news outlets buzzed with the fallout of what would soon be known as the Gyllenhaal-Kimmel incident. The tension began brewing in the green room, or perhaps even earlier in the day, when Jake arrived at the studio noticeably on edge, brushing off handlers and assistants, his jaw clenched tight, and his usual charismatic energy curdled into something brittle and vaguely menacing, though everyone chalked it up to method acting residue given the intense roles he'd been inhabiting lately. But no one could have anticipated the powder keg of emotion that would detonate on national television. Just moments into the interview, Jimmy Kimmel, ever the professional, greeted Jake with his signature warm sarcasm, poking gentle fun at the actor's recent Instagram post featuring an abstract poem and a shirtless selfie, light fare for a host known for walking the tightrope. Between roast and reverence, but something about the joke hit a raw nerve in Jake, who forced a laugh before launching into a monologue about authenticity in art, railing against the commodification of creativity and accusing talk shows of reducing actors to caricatures, his voice rising in volume as the audience nervously chuckled, uncertain whether they were witnessing performance art or a genuine emotional unraveling. Kimmel attempted to pivot, deflecting with a quip about late-night therapy sessions, but Jake was undeterred, interrupting the host and turning toward the camera with a fervor usually reserved for Oscar speeches, addressing the viewing public. Directly as he lambasted the entertainment industry for its synthetic soul, calling out unnamed executives and former co-stars, even referencing past interviews where he'd been misquoted, misrepresented, and mishandled by a media machine more interested in scandal than substance, his intensity growing with each word as sweat beaded on his brow and the live studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to applaud or flee. It was at that moment, somewhere between Jake referencing Rilke and comparing reality TV to psychic rot, that Jimmy tried to reel him back in, placing a firm but gentle hand on his guest's arm and saying, "Hey, Jake, maybe we take a breath here." But Jake recoiled as if stung, jerking away and accusing Jimmy of silencing him, of being part of the very machinery he'd been condemning, and with a defiant sweep of his arm, he knocked over the host's mug, sending coffee splattering across the desk and floor, a gasp rippling through the audience like a collective intake of breath before a storm. The next few seconds unfolded in surreal slow motion. Security began to move in from the wings. The band halted mid-riff, and Jake rose from his chair, eyes wild and arms gesturing like a prophet in the wilderness, declaring that truth had no place in show business, and that this would be the last time he submitted himself to the ritual humiliation of the press tour. His voice echoing eerily in the suddenly silent studio before he turned on his heel and began marching toward the wings, only to be met by two producers who tried to intercept him, at which point an unintelligible shouting match erupted, picked up by Jake's still live mic and broadcast to millions watching at home, their jaws dropping in disbelief as the screen abruptly cut to a pre-taped comedy sketch with no explanation. In the hours that followed, social media erupted with speculation, memes, and amateur lip readers dissecting every frame of the confrontation, while PR teams scrambled to spin the incident. Some claimed it was a prank gone wrong, others said Jake had suffered a mental health episode, and a few suggested the whole thing was a performance piece meant to highlight the toxic absurdities of fame. A theory lent credence by the fact that Jake was spotted hours later at a downtown art gallery, sipping wine and calmly discussing postmodernism, as though the night's chaos had been just another role. Meanwhile, Kimmel returned to the air the following night with a mixture of professionalism and barbed humor, opening his monologue with, "So, last night, Jake Gyllenhaal came on the show to promote a movie, and instead, we got a live-action sequel to Nightcrawler," drawing raucous laughter but also drawing ire from some critics who felt the joke was in poor taste if Jake had in fact been in distress. Yet even amid the backlash, the ratings spoke volumes, viewership spiked, clips went viral, and by week's end, think pieces flooded the internet debating whether Gyllenhaal's meltdown had been genuine, strategic, or something in between, blurring the line between reality and performance in a way only Hollywood scandals can. As for Jake, he issued a brief statement via his publicist days later, neither apologizing nor clarifying, simply stating, "Sometimes the truth doesn't fit neatly into a 5-minute segment," and then vanished from public view, leaving the industry to wonder whether they'd witnessed a breakdown, a breakthrough, or simply a brilliant piece of unscripted theater. As the incident entered the annals of late-night legend, a cautionary tale, a cultural Rorschach test, and perhaps, in some twisted way, exactly what Jake Gyllenhaal had intended all along.